Hi, welcome to Tea Time with Amy and Bev, where we are being human today.
For a moment.
For a moment.
That's right. How's it going?
It's going pretty good. Stayed up a little late. Slept in a little bit, so I'm like rushing around this morning. So I'm good.
Nice.
It'll be a good day. Yeah. And you?
I've had interesting things going on. I've had interesting dreams and thoughts and all kinds of crazy stuff. I call it crazy because it's not my familiar, right? It started the other night. I was
hold on. You're being human by saying it's crazy because it's not the norm.
See? Only for a moment. I was for a moment. You guys got to see me.
Yay.
Yay.
We got to let them see our human side too, because, that's the way it is. That's what we're here for. So.
That's funny.
Okay. So tell us about your experiences.
So dream, right? So it's because our dreams have all kinds of information in them anyways. I woke up, when I was waking up, I saw myself coming through this tunnel and it was like digital and I could see it like it was moving. It was just like this whole thing. And I could see how the corners would roll in, but all that was like numbers and letters. And like, it was like there was it just reminds me of zeros and ones from when you're creating a program. So I saw all of that. And then when I came in, it's like every single thing has seemed, we can go talk about the matrix. That's what it seemed like this. When I woke up, it was like, this is not real. That's why you're saying we're human. But it's like, I'm in a different space where what we're experiencing is not, it's important because it helps us for our growth, for our soul, so we can see things, we can have different perspectives. But on so many levels, we put so much importance to anything. It's like, so we talk about channeling, right? Tuning into a channel. And it's the same thing that we do all day long. I can tune into the government. I can tune into taxes. I can tune into hate, discontent, anger, or I can tune into love. And love might be on a different channel than joy. But it's like we're tuning into all this information all the time. It's wherever we want to put our attention on. I'm listening to this YouTube yesterday as I was driving, and she talked about bringing yourself into a space where you don't it was before you ever had a name. It was before you were told that something was good or bad. It was before there was a gender. It was before all that stuff. And now look around from that space. And when you're looking around, if you're looking at a tree, you're not going to label that tree. And as soon, you're just going to look at everything because nothing has a label. You're just being, you're just existing. Well, when I did that, all of a sudden the trees, everything looked different. Everything looked different. I didn't only see the tree, I saw the leaves. I saw the way the light was touching the leaves. I could see energy. I knew that there was water that would flow into that and how it was giving out to it. There was so much that was coming from that moment and all those moments that it's really, I'm just in this space and I'm really seeing things really from a whole new perspective. Even to the point where when I'm going to sleep, I've listened, I think it's Janet Nohavic's book, Between Two Worlds, I believe, but it's one of her books and it's a training ground. And we can all do this. And do it on a regular basis just to see. But she first said, go to your third eye. And go to your third eye. And so the space in between your eyebrows or behind your eyes, whatever we're going to call it, I hear so many different descriptions. But if you go into that space, then see a bird. See an old man walking down the street is what she had said. See whatever. And if you can't visualize, don't give up on yourself. Then go on to the next thing. Notice what sensations do you feel? Like just being aware, you're bringing attention to that space and you're learning to see from a different space. So I did it. And then it's like you go to your throat area and she says, hear church bells ringing. Well, I could hear church bells ringing, but we can go on and make that so much more. And all you're doing is you're practicing and tuning into your chakras. So you're paying attention to those energy centers. And then it's like bringing your space to your heart and and envisioning a mother coming together with a child that they've been separated for a long time, and feel how that would feel. I could feel how that could feel. And then she takes you all the way back up to the third eye real quick, and then to the throat. And she's doing these visualizations. So I've been doing that at night too. But it's changing the things that are showing up. So now when I'm closing my eyes, I'm seeing dots. I'm seeing it's almost as if I would go back to the matrix. It's almost as if the reality that I thought was my reality is dissolving. And the only reason, and that could be scary to somebody, but at the same point, I know that there has to be a dissolving of all that, all the labels, all the past, all the stuff you can't carry it along with you, and manage, which we've talked about, and manage to be in a new space. You know, we talk about wars because that's what we're familiar with, but it's like the more and more of us light workers, and the more and more of us that are becoming more awake, however you want to label all this stuff, the more that we're paying attention to what I would like to see is this: everybody living in joy, in peace, in happiness, in love. And it doesn't have to be that route anymore, but that was what the collective, and I don't mean collective consciousness, I mean, in which we are all part of that collective consciousness. I mean the collective in these physical bodies, in these shells, in our humanness, what we've experienced. And the only way we can evolve from what we've experienced is to experience new. So I'm just going through this journey is pretty amazing. Where is it going to go? I don't know. I don't care. Because if you practice that space of just not having a label and just really not put too much thought into it, and then when you start looking around at everything around you, it is all new. It's as if you're seeing it like a child seeing it. It's as if we look out today and we had to check the cows because we saw something that was running around near the cows. And it was Freeman's the one that saw it first. And he says, I had to look at the camera or the scope out to see what it was. It was a baby cow, like a brand new baby cow. And it's just running around, just like happy as could be, joyful, and just, but those are the things that you miss when you're so focused on everything else. When you're so focused on, I'm going to work, I'm going to go do this. And as soon as we do all that stuff, it's an automatic label. When I call you Amy, it's an automatic label, whatever Amy contains. So it's like I'm just in this space of the mind is no longer in that space. It can't be contained in that space anymore. And this is a very awesome place to be in. Now, the thing is everybody going to get it, what I'm talking about, or what I'm understand everything I'm saying? Maybe not, but it's just, if you start going through something that feels like it's foreign to you and it feels scary, like sit with it, really feel it. Is it really scary? Because for me, this feels good. It doesn't feel scary. Initially, it might feel scary, like, oh God, I'm leaving the side of the pool. I don't know if I can swim. And it's like, just let go. And I'm swimming, you're floating, right? So it's just, that's just where it's at right now for me.
Nice. And I, over the weekend, being with groups of people, listening to the conversations and observing, seeing people beyond their humanness, right? Talking about this person and talking about their life, and the woe is me, the any heaviness they might be carrying and talking about, and through my eyes seeing them differently. And like you said, is everybody going to get it? Not everybody's going to get it in this life, and that's okay. But sending as they're, and there's no, I'm human and I do human things too. But being in that space of holding the compassion and love for them, just within myself, but sending that out to the people that are around me who are having these lower vibrational conversations, and not engaging in the conversation, but just being an observer. I'm a people watcher anyway. I could just sit and watch and listen, and I'm good with that. Some people that makes some people uncomfortable. Like, why is this girl just sitting there looking at us and not saying anything? And why is she so quiet? But I'm good with it. I could just sit there and be observe just everything going on. And it's okay because I'm seeing it through different eyes. I'm seeing the experience through different eyes, and just sending the love and just holding that space as they're in their, I'm going to say, victimhood of whatever's going on in their life, or bashing somebody else, talking about them. I mean, that's their story, that's their experience. I can still be witness to it, and I can still learn from it. And I can also show up vibrationally different. So, and speaking of vibration, so last night I went to bed a little late, and I decided to listen to a hypnosis recording. And as I was laying there, I mean, I'm in bed, so it's dark, my eyes closed. As I'm listening to this, I'm actually feeling my body. And it wasn't, how you get the chills when you're cold? And it's kind of well, to me, like almost like a tingling sensation. Well, I was feeling that, but I wasn't cold. And I was just feeling it, like it would like a blanket of it was laid over my body. So I was feeling it from like head to toe. And then I'd feel it in one area, and then I'd feel it in another area, and then I'd feel this wave. And so it was quite interesting, because I'm not really, I can't say that I really have been present enough in something like that to feel that type of sensation throughout my body. Like, it was just really cool. I'm like, all right, so I'm listening to hypnosis and this is happening. So this is quite interesting. I'm digging on this. It's a new experience for me.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
So yeah, and I was laying there. I'm like, well, am I cold? Because it was a sensation like I would get if I was cold, like getting the chills. I'm not cold though, but I'm feeling this like vibration, tingling. Now I'm just like, okay, but I'm not cold, so I'm okay with that. That's good, So I just make sure I didn't have the chills.
No, but I mean, from my perspective, that's you just becoming in tune. So when I say that I feel energy coming in, that's what I'll feel. And it might be in centered areas. So it's just like that, but it's awesome. And then it sounds like something was sweeping through you, almost like clearing away any blockages that you might
could
have.
be.
Yeah.
Because I mean, the
So,
hypnosis
so
was part of that.
Yeah. Is that a hypnosis that you're able to share with anybody who's listening?
It
Do they have access to it?
No, it was something I had to pay for.
Okay.
So it was a recording I was listening to, and it involves like visualization and of what you want. It's about manifesting. So
Nice.
visualizing what you want, noticing if there's any fears about that desire, and just asking yourself, could I release this fear right now? And going through that a few times, and then doing some anchoring. And this is where I kind of messed up, because I did go to bed late, and part of it was feeling the excitement of receiving. So I'm like, it's late and I'm listening to this and I'm supposed to be excited. So it was funny because I was maintaining my relaxed state, but in my mind, I was seeing myself excited.
Gotcha.
So I was still utilizing the visualization. I just wasn't physically like jumping up on the bed and hooting and hollering, if that makes sense.
No, I understand. I totally understand.
So,
You know, I find it interesting because there's somebody in the house that's purging right now. I just heard from where I'm at right now as you're having the conversation. So I would say it was a purging and cleansing. And that's an energetic form. It's an energy transformation that was happening for you
yeah.
on so many levels, really. And you know, because you meditate, and it's like my cards will go back to meditation every single time. And the more that I'm following this stuff, the more that I hear, well, how did you start doing that? Well, I started meditating. Then I start reading other stuff, meditation. Like it's constant. It's constantly something that's being brought to my attention, that meditation is that it's everything. Even if it did give you a lot of energy in that space, if someone thinks, oh God, now I'm getting all this energy right now, I'm going to bed, we could think that way. Or you could think, oh, I'm getting all this energy, which means I'm going to need less sleep because I'm vibrating at such a higher frequency right now. So when I'm vibrating at such a higher frequency, maybe I don't need the rest that I would typically need, because that is your rest. You're giving your body rest. So I mean, there's a lot, and just to sit and feel all that stuff, and not to be afraid of it. And I like how you said that it felt like goosebumps. So I don't hyperventilate. I don't know that I've ever really had that experience, but when I start getting tuned in and I'm getting this flow going through me, I start feeling like the tingly, and I would say it was the same, I would refer to it now almost as if you're going to get goosebumps, but I'm getting them into the third eye area through my crown, like up. So I'm feeling it from that space. And again, we could think this is crazy, this is weird, because not everybody talks about it in this way, but this is what I'm feeling. And it is almost as if, like I said, like I'm hyperventilating or goosebumps, there's not enough flow, or maybe there's so much flow going at one time, I guess would probably be another way of saying it, that I can feel it, it's palpable. And the more that you become in tune like this, you're going to start noticing everything. Like I was listening to, there's a person that I follow on Facebook that I never go on Facebook, but I just happened to go on and she had posted something. And I follow her on YouTube too. But she'll talk about that we have energies coming in right now. And she had mentioned something about, I think it was yesterday, we have energies coming in and it'll happen for a certain amount of time. And then she says it always takes 3 days to integrate that. So it's like which is funny now, because I'm realizing that she says that we have this stuff coming in, and I'm actually physically was seeing like a matrix, that I'm flowing through these digital tunnels, that it is like all this numbers and stuff as I'm going through it. It's like it was just very real. And it was me, I was aware, and it was me coming back into my physical body to get up and to start moving around. But it's this, you start having this awareness, but this is all happening around the same time that she's saying this stuff. So again, now I'll tell people there's a transformation happening, and some people are going to be very afraid and operating from a fear. And someone else says, the more that you operate from that space of fear, you're asking for more fear, and it'll be fear of anything. So it'll show up. So for me, like things are showing up for meditation, because I'm in a different space. So meditate. It's constantly reminding me, this is a good time right now. Take a minute, take some breath work, all, because that's another form of meditation. That's another form of being in the now. And then you start receiving those vibrations, or you start being aware that you're receiving the vibrations. Like all this stuff is happening right now, or you can be in fear and then be panicked and then be afraid to go to sleep because you don't know what's going to happen, and try to control it all, because that to me is a lot of control too. But it's just a matter of just taking the breaths. Just take the breath and just let go of the labels. Feel the sensations, just as you were feeling the sensation. We try to label it so we can explain it, right? I'm that dream that my coming back into my physical away from that dream, I experienced it. I didn't panic about it. I was like, well, this is interesting, and I just flowed with it. I just went along for the ride, and now it's like everything's different, because with that information, what does that even mean? Like, right? So when you start asking bigger questions, well, then from that space, who am I? Like, who am I really? And when you're sitting witnessing others, and I'm sitting witnessing others, we're witnessing us, because we're all connected. There's no separation. This is all us, and you can watch it play out in front of you. And it's interesting. And the thing is, in that space, even though you're witnessing whatever they're experiencing, you're not adding to it because you're coming from it from a loving, neutral space. So you're changing the way you're already creating that space of what I'm saying that the world can be, instead of it being war, because you could have been in that space like, wait a minute. See, my body wants to come
Yeah.
forward, and I'm like stepping forward into that doing. What do you mean you're talking shit about that person? Don't you think that's rude? And it could have been a totally different aspect of the whole situation. Then you're like looking for back to that war space, and we don't have to be in that space. Everyone thinks there's got to be an action or something that has to be done. Well, go into meditation. What does your meditation tell you? Well, you're looking and witnessing everything. Everything was fine. You didn't get pulled into that energy. You
And
didn't.
it would also be showing up like that would also mean like I'm trying to be the protector or the fixer of this
Oh,
other person when really it's their journey. It had nothing to
yeah,
do with me. Not
yeah.
my family, not my business. Even if it was my family, that is between them. That's an experience between all of them, right? And yeah, and so if I was to come in and show defense, again, like I feel that too. I'm like pulled forward. I'm going to get
Exactly.
defensive for that other person who's not present and get my nose stuck up in everybody's business. Not my place, man. It's not my place. And I choose not to because that is resistance. It's uncomfortable. It doesn't feel good.
And then you bring more of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what felt good was just hold the space.
Yeah.
Let them have their experience. Let them say what they need to say or felt like they needed to say. And just be the observer.
Yeah. Don't take it on. It's not your karma. It's not any of your stuff. Something that happened to me before all this happened. So witnessing, because we're around Thanksgiving, right? We were just past it, and being in that space around family and friends, and just witnessing how just same thing I was observing. Not to say that I didn't get a little bit bothered by some of the stuff at that point, but it was the bothering made me ask myself, well, how can I show up better for myself and my family? And why? I'm wondering, why is this showing up? So instead of before in the past, I would have probably been reactive, and I wasn't. I stayed in my space. And then what I was shown is, gosh, I mean, I could go I'll go back. I'll just go to the beginning right now for Gemini. I was emasculating him. Maybe not in such a, joking around, being a smart ass, because that was me. That was how I dealt with life. That was my fight or flight. That was my protection. But I was constantly, if I would have told me this before, I'd have been like, you are out of your mind. But now I'm looking exactly up yours, buddy. Yeah, we're not talking ever again. Thanks for bringing it to my attention, mother. But it wasn't like that. So I was able to, because I'm in a neutral space, so I'm able to see, yes, I was emasculating. And then I can go back, because I would drink and I would, pick, or I would, be a smart ass and be like, yeah, when I get a Harley, you get to ride on the back because you're my bitch. Joking. That was me. That was how I was then. That was my behavior. It might have been joking, but that's still emasculating to a person. And of course, he grew up with his dad worked 2 full-time jobs, and his mom helped raise him. She worked part-time, and then he's got 2 older sisters. So he came into an environment that had all that. He had me and my 2 daughters, which he adopted. They were his 2 daughters. They were always his daughters. They will always be his 2 daughters. Always. He didn't want kids, and then he got kids, and he was thankful for that. But then if I go back even further, my mom was in relationships where she was a victim.
Yeah.
She was a victim in those spaces. I saw my mom become devastated after her second husband up and left because he had to pay child support. Like, that was it. He abandoned Fort. He was gone, no longer to be seen. Sorry, Bib, I can't stay here anymore because I can't go to jail and I can't handle the idea of the bars closing in my ears. I can't handle that, being trapped. And I watched her. She had a meltdown. What do you call it? A nervous breakdown. I'm watching her from my child perspective and seeing her, and it's like, that was not to be in my experience. So I became the victor. So if you some people would call it the victor victim mentality. Well, I became the victor, and I was not going to be the victim, even although I would put myself in victim numerous times. Well, then I have seen in my own family how there has been some emasculating going on, not even on purpose, but it's because of where it came from. Now, from that space, I can go in there and fix it. But from my other space, I know to go into my energy and to apologize to all of my kids,
Yeah.
and down to my grandkids, and then give myself forgiveness and forgive others. Jim came into the role with his role, and I had my role. That's why I come back to this whole matrix things, because all they were was roles. It was a play that was playing out. And gosh, I could have gone my whole life and not had this realization. I could have gone my whole life and not and been in that space. So, but I couldn't have been anything different than what I was. Otherwise, I would not have been a matchup with Jim at that time. It was to always be that way. It was meant for us to learn from. It was my role and my experience. But now, and then, so I had that experience and I recognized it, and I bring up things to the kids, like I didn't, I don't say, well, I did the best that I could, but I do say I did the best that I could. I didn't have any other information to give you, because I didn't go looking for more information to try to be better than I was before. And now, because I've become more allowing and not trying to control everything, I'm getting these opportunities. And if I was in victim state, I could have been devastated by that information, that this is how I was with him, because he deserved better, but I deserved better. I just didn't have better from my experiences right then, which is so funny, because it really just goes back to the beginning of this conversation. It's remembering that it's a play and we're learning, but what are you learning? Like, it's being aware of that space, and the only way you can be there really is by letting go of all the labels, of all the attachments to experiences. It's just letting go of all that, and then just being. It's just being that allows you to see all these things and have this experience and recognize this was my experience.
I'm gonna go
it's
ahead.
amazing, right? No, it's
Yeah.
just it's an amazing journey.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna declare this and put my ego in here for a second and say I coined. Okay, this is my phrase. So if anybody ever questions it, it's on recording. That when last year, when I was writing my book, I was contemplating, because my whole thing, through life is, it's just what the fuck, right? Just like what the fuck, man? Really? We're doing this again? This is happening again. Seriously, and you just question life experiences from that space of, I'm over it. I'm done. I don't want to do this again. But on my other side, I know why I'm going through it. But the human side says, I'm tired. Really? I got to face this again. And so when I was writing, WTF kept coming up, and it was just like WTF question mark, WTF question mark, exclamation point. I'm like, well, how can I, asking the universe, how can I change this WTF? What, how can I see that differently? And what came out, I mean, it's in a chapter now, one of the books that I did, but it's changing your WTF, what the fuck, from a victim standpoint of exhaustion, of just, I just don't want to do this anymore. Why do I have to move through this chaos and this experience? So that's to me, that's a big WTF. That's like aggressive. And then there's the WTF that is softer. It's italicized. It's, what's this for? And that totally changes the dynamic of a situation from a viewpoint, from a perspective. It changes your perspective, because when you take that WTF and go, well, what's this for? Why am I in this chaos? Why am I experiencing this drama? Why am I witnessing this conversation? Why am I having this conversation? Why, what is this doing for me? What's the information in this experience that I can utilize to help me be better, show up better? So that over the past year, I've actually been doing that for several years. I just never related it to a WTF. And it was, instead of asking you what's this for, it's like I was saying, why am I observing this? Why am I witnessing this? Why am I doing, right? So then when the WTF came about, it makes it so simple. What's this for?
It makes it neutral. It neutralizes it immediately.
And it puts me what I call, because I always, I use the terms victim and student. The what the fuck question puts us in that victim mentality. Like, this is happening to me. And we get defensive, we get aggressive, we get reactive. But when I can say, what's this for? Now I'm just being open to learning about life, learning about myself. And that's the most important thing, is what I would like people to know is how important it is to know about yourself. Be inquisitive about yourself. Inquire about yourself. Why did I show up like that? Why did I say it? Why did I say it that way? Why did I have that facial expression or that head movement? Or, why did my body lean in when I said that? Just what's this for is being very interested in yourself. And people aren't interested in themselves because they're too busy focused on everybody else and how everybody else is talking and how everybody else body language is and how everybody else how their attitudes are, right? Because it's easier to point fingers outward instead of just go, wow, that really affected me pretty deep. I wonder, or that made me pretty aggressive, or that triggered a little emotion in me and made me a little sad. Well, what was that for? What's in my container that's stirring, that's ready to be looked at and acknowledged and changed, right? Because we can only change ourselves. So self-inquiry is so, to me, it's super, it's just cool. When I started looking at myself and changing the things I didn't like in me, because I honestly, I didn't like me, and I didn't even, if I don't like me, why would anybody else? Why would anybody else want to hang around me? And when I started changing those things I didn't like about myself, that was all on me. It wasn't Beverly showing up saying, Amy, you got this resting bitch face going on. And no, she's like, well, that's how she is. It's up to me. If I don't like it, and even if Bev would have said anything to me, I would have told her, fuck off. Right? It's like, I don't care. Because that RBF is keeping me safe. It's keeping people away from me. It's keeping me, I just keeping the distance because I don't want to deal with people. And now, I'm softer, more relaxed, more compassionate, and I could just sit with people and not say a word. And then, they're just like, oh my gosh, you're going to be there. We're so happy you're going to be there. It's going to be so much fun. And I'm thinking, we haven't even had a connection. Like, a conversation. We don't even know each other, but they're just so excited that my presence is there. Self-inquiry, super important.
And it raises you're raising your vibration when you're becoming neutral like that. Honestly, it's really a changing of the vibration, and you can be in that space, and you're not asking for more of what you're experiencing or witnessing. Everything just makes you neutral. And in the past, it's like, and it may be something as simple as that. In the past, you would have reacted, and now you didn't. For
Yeah.
me, it was simple to realize I knew why my grandson had come to be my grandson, because I love him so much that I would never treat him the way that I had treated Jim. And I wouldn't want anybody else to treat him that way, because he helped open up my heart, because he didn't come into this space needing to learn to move through whatever he had already, the template that he had already been given. He doesn't have to. And now he has an opportunity, because now he's getting experiences from different people and gets to see what that is. Because we came here to feel stuff, and am I going to sit back and allow abuse? No, that's certainly not what I'm saying at all. But what I'm noticing is I'm changing it by the way that I'm responding to it. And I'm changing it by being neutral. And then it brought me, that's why at the beginning of Facebook, with people would remember, if anybody was watching that part, but I was talking about streams of grace. I had learned that through somebody, Cindy Dell, I think is who it was. And that's the name that popped into my head. But she talks about sending that she was in a situation where she was at like the mall, and she saw a dad yelling at his daughter, like really being almost like abusive. And she couldn't get to him from where she was at. So she sent streams of grace.
Yeah.
And so whenever and that gives me goosebumps. So for me, the goosebumps is it's another way of sending that sensation, right? It's that vibration, because it's not really goosebumps. I mean, I didn't really actually see goosebumps on my skin. That does happen, but it didn't. That at that time, I felt that energy go through. But it's to send streams of grace to all my family, to all of them. And it's to send streams of grace to even the people that you were witnessing, just sending streams of grace, not with judgment, but with just, it's like sending love. But we've used the word love so much that it doesn't feel the same. So streams of grace it's nice. It's pleasant. It changes the vibration. And now I'm no longer, as soon as you do that, you're no longer in that space of seeing a victim and a victor, or, you know what I mean, a teacher, and however you want to look at it. You're no longer seeing it from that space anymore, and it changes the whole dynamic. She actually witnessed that everything changed. She got to witness that he totally changed the way he was talking. He was no longer yelling. I don't know if he started coughing or choking, but something happened where it changed things. And
Interrupted
it wasn't
the pattern.
yeah, it wasn't anything like that, but it's well, I'm not saying about yours. I was just saying I was like laughing, like, aha, karma got you. It wasn't like that. It just changed the energy. It stopped it. It changed what they were focusing on right then, right now. Because now he's coughing instead of being able to say anything
Right.
or yell anymore.
Right. That's awesome. I think that's
all the stuff that we're experiencing is awesome, and it's bringing into play. That's the one thing. There's a Paul Selig, he channels as well, and when he channels, it's kind of hard to listen to if you're not paying attention to it, because he repeats. So he'll say like a stream of words, how he received it, and then he repeats it afterwards. So he does that all the time, but with his connection on this channel doesn't always see eye to eye with the information that's coming through. So he's not living this experience. He's not living the information that's coming through him, because a lot of it doesn't make sense to him. And I like it when I hear channels that are actually living what they're saying. The channels coming through them and saying, well, they're being used as a channel, so the energy is coming through that person. And these people that are listening to that are actually following it. Like Esther Hicks, she does a lot, but she'll still get caught up in some of the stuff that
that's what
maybe
I was
is not
thinking.
ideal. The human experience, right? Yeah.
Well, even
But it's
Susan
okay.
Geisman.
Oh
Susan
yeah, but
Geisman too.
yeah,
She struggles a little sometimes.
yeah. And then there's a couple other ones that act like they don't talk about being in that space. They talk about like this living this life all the time, and you can be happy all the time, which If they are, then I mean, it's just, all it is creating a doorway. And then the only way you can know is how it feels for you when you're having that experience with that person. But that goes back to what you were talking about, is being aware of the sensations that are going on in our body. And the only way we can be aware is by bringing our attention to ourselves. Excuse me. And that's not a selfish thing, that there's nothing, if anything, you're honoring yourself. And then when you're honoring yourself, you're honoring everybody else. You couldn't be on that journey where you're at right now and not have honored yourself, because once you've honored yourself, now you can honor others just to be in their experience, just to be. And it's like one came because of the other. When you love yourself, love shows up around you. It's just goes back to the same thing. I want more of that. I'm going to get, and you just automatically, you naturally do. You're not going to be in a space of love all the time, and fear comes in all the time. If they don't match up, the frequencies do not match. It's two different channels.
Yeah.
It's two different channels on your TV, on your radio station, however you want to look at it. It's two different channels.
Yeah, two different frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
The words, whatever words resonate with you, because one thing could be said 10 different ways, and it's picking what resonates. When you're talking about the channeling, what I'm finding is most channelers, they do receive the information and they're bringing it forward for the audience, for the population, for people, whoever is gravitating towards that information and can receive it. But the channelers, and just so the audience who's listening to us, channelers are people who are bringing forward collective consciousness and interpreting or delivering the information out to us. And so whoever resonates with that channeler, is going to listen to them and receive the information being shared and hopefully implement. But what I'm finding, from the ones that I've listened to, majority of the ones I've listened to, is that they do have this ability to bring that information forward, and they're still human, so they still have human experiences where they have their own emotional struggles, right? What I'm recognizing is that majority of the people who have near-death experiences, majority of them, when they come back into the physical body, they change. Like, it's instant. They from what I'm understanding is they do go through some psychological shifts too, because they gotta, it's like, what did I just experience? But now here I am in this physical world, and this psychological shift happens, but something in them clicks very quickly, and it's almost like an immediate change of how they're showing up in this world. Now, I have heard of some near-death experiencers who they don't want to come back in the physical body, and source sends them back, and then they're pissed, and then they're just angry the rest of their life because they don't want to be here. They didn't want to come back, but they were, well, you know what? They were sent back for a reason. At such a time as this, we're in the physical body. We all matter for whatever reason. But that's just, I just wanted to bring that up, that's something I'm noticing in listening to channelers and near-death experience people, that difference, that the channelers still have that struggle, but the near-death experiencers, like they got it, like and they make almost an immediate change in their life.
And it honestly doesn't even have to happen from a near-death experience. You can
No,
still have those
it doesn't.
areas. It's really just being open for that.
Yeah.
And then it makes you wonder, what are you open for? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What are you, that can go all the way back to your manifestation. How are you limiting yourself? Because a lot of times, when you want to be in control of things all the time, things don't happen for you the way you would like them to happen. because it was
Right.
out of your control. So, I mean, there certainly is a lot to that. There's been a few of them that I've listened to that are really uplifted and totally changed. And I just, it's just funny on this journey that I'm on right now. And then how all of a sudden I'm listening to one that Alex Ferrari is doing an interview on. And then I'm interested in her. So now I'm looking her up, Louise Kay. Which is funny because Louise Hay, Louise Kay. I
Yeah.
just thought it was fun because it was catchy, right? But I started looking her up and she's been doing channeling. There's so many channelers out there. People channel all the time. This is not anything new. The thing is, it's who, like you said, who's drawn to that and who are you affecting in your immediate environment. And then it's like, even so I'm following Louise Kay. So I go to another interview that she's in from 5 years ago, and they're talking about this whole group that teaches you about channeling. Like it's something they get together all the time. And this is a radio station and everything else. Like it's one, if I was looking for it before, I wouldn't have found it. And it just showed my experience today. So, but because it was led from one person to the next for me, because this is where I'm at, I'm ready for the next bit of information. I'm ready to have a better understanding about what's going on. And a lot of this helps to prepare yourself to not be in a space of fear when you start going through these experiences and it's so unfamiliar to you. Because you have to remember, this is not you, but anybody listening. This is for you, for your experiences. This has not been your experience until now. And even if you experience spirit and everything else when you were younger, you're still now in a new experience, because some of those experiences early on might have been tainted. So with the quotation marks around it, from your perspective, because you might have been said, smacked and told them, don't talk about that. We don't talk like that. And that would have been because somebody was operating from their fight or flight, from their self-preservation
Yeah.
space. So, I mean, it's this journey is amazing. And the only way it can be, I couldn't even have had this conversation with you the beginning of this year. I couldn't have. And here, look at us now. We're freaking just about into December. We're going to be doing our next 12-month
Yeah. Spread.
our spread,
Yeah.
angel oracle, tarot spread, whatever you want to do. It blows my mind. And I want to add to that. Anytime you're doing a reading and you're kind of confused about what the message is, if you've got more than one deck, and for me, I get pulled to draw. I hardly ever draw 3 cards. A lot of times they'll throw out 7 for me. There's usually more of a message, and probably because I need to have confirmation after confirmation. After
I need a signee or sign.
Yeah. It's like, we just gave you 10, Bev. Seriously, but always pull another deck, and you can do just the same feeling as you had before, and it may not be the exact same because I don't even think about it. And then I'll flip over the same amount of cards, and if an extra one comes out, I don't stop it, I bring it out. And I noticed that each one of those cards matches up with the card before. It's just a confirmation of the previous card, or another way of saying it. Like we say things and then we might say it a different way, in a different way, just because we're saying the same thing, but people are going to hear it differently. And then that's a way our soul knows that somebody is going to listen to this time, that's going to hear it a little bit different than they've heard it before. Or it's a new person that has an understanding about some of the words or terminology that we're using now, that'll now actually make sense to them. Like, oh, that makes so much sense. And of course, they're hearing it after we're receiving this big block of energy that's coming in, and people are integrating it. So now more and more people are going to start flowing and seeing it, because we seek this stuff, because it helps us to know that we're not freaking crazy. When you're hearing a voice, now, I'm not saying that everybody that hears voices, if it's telling you to do something that's harmful to someone else, you probably should go talk to somebody.
Yeah.
Just to kind of explore it, see what's going on. But if you could start hearing voices. I've heard people calling my name, saying my name, hearing different information. There's different stuff going on, but I feel good. I don't feel manic. I don't feel, how would I know, but just from my experience, super highs, super lows, I don't. It's pretty even kill. And then I'll have, like you had that vibration of during your meditation last night, where you feel like energized. Like you could have gotten up and done anything, but for me, it's to be in that space and feel it even more. Like to keep bringing more and more, because it's like, where can it go? I don't know. This is so exciting.
It was exciting. So I was just laying there. I was like, whoa. This is a cool sensation, man.
And you're gonna feel I'm telling you, I know because I've gone through that experience where when you start feeling stuff like that, you'll just be sitting there, and when you're quiet, no TV going, no nothing, and maybe sometimes maybe it is. You might even notice you're getting a vibe off the TV from whatever they're broadcasting.
Yeah.
But you just notice it all the time. You'll start
I
noticing.
have done that, just so you know. I have been watching a show, movie, series, whatever. And it's like when they say something and it resonates with me, I feel that. I'm like, wow, that was cool. And I'm watching a show,
Yeah,
a TV show or something.
yeah, which
Yeah,
is cool. There are some good stuff out there that really
yeah,
can speak to you. And that's the stuff that I would gravitate towards. I just don't watch really much of anything. So
yeah.
YouTube.
Um, so that whole sensation thing was last night. Like I'm telling you, it was like 12:30 a.m. this morning. Yesterday,
Yeah.
throughout the day, I had like 3 deja vus, and I was getting all these different scents. At one time, it was like somebody was, now I'm in this room in my house, and in the middle of the day, and it was a scent of, I kept getting different scents, like somebody was cooking in the house, and I was home by myself, or barbecuing. And then there was a scent of, I definitely know somebody showed up because in spirit, because there was this scent of, just, it was real brief, real quick. Somebody who drinks alcohol and that,
Yeah.
it just smells on it. It was that. And I kind of feel like that's how my first stepdad shows up. It's only happened one other time that I acknowledge. So yes, it was busy day yesterday with whatever spirit. I'm like, I got this team going on, there is stuff happening, and then feeling that sensation last night. I'm like, okay, no, I know I'm being prepped for something, so let's go.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that's the thrill of the whole thing. That's this journey.
Yeah,
And that's how it can be for everybody all the time. It's funny because I feel like a year ago I might have listened to someone else having this experience, having these experience and being in this space.
yeah,
And now it's my experience,
right.
right? So it's whatever we put our attention on. And it's not to say that the human stuff hasn't shown up occasionally. And it's not to say that I wouldn't feel bad about things or have a feeling about something, but I give myself different information and plant new seeds and move forward in a different way where I'm not holding on to my old template, my old just automatic autopilot, right? I'm not holding on to that stuff. And I've actually been creating, I don't I don't know that I'm so much in that space anymore with the autopilot. And when it does come up, because it's like as soon as it comes up, I realize, that just doesn't feel good. That doesn't that because it doesn't feel good. It immediately doesn't feel good, and I don't beat myself up like I would have before. Like, why are you doing that again? Why are you putting yourself through that? That would have
Yeah,
been my old conversation, and now it's like, oh, you're back to your WTF. Like, why is this here? Why is this showing up for me?
yeah,
What am I to experience from this? What can I take from this? How can I show up better? And it's not better meaning better than somebody else. It's just showing up where it feels better.
yeah. I want to go back to channeling that. I feel like both of us, we've been doing that for a long time.
It's
And
true.
mine shows up more when I'm teaching. And
Yes.
it's just the it's like just information is flowing through me. And I know what I'm saying at the time I'm saying it. I hear it. But when I take a breath and somebody says, "Could you repeat that?" I don't have a fucking clue what I said.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I kind of have to give a disclaimer before class starts. And hey, listen, you better take really good notes because I don't always remember what I'm saying because I'm just letting the information flow through me. And it's like when I'm saying, I'm like, wow, this is really good stuff. But then I don't, I, I can't go back and say what I said,
Yeah.
or even
No, it's
sometimes
interesting.
remember what I said or
Yeah.
what I was even talking about.
And it's almost good to be recording, especially when you're into
Yeah.
sessions like that. So like Paul Selig would say, the guy was asking him, Alex, he was asking him, well, do you ever just channel, when you're by yourself? And he's like, well, they actually need an audience. Because like you were saying earlier, they need that audience because they need the different energies, they need the questions, because that asking brings forward the information. Otherwise, you're sitting in front of Google like, I just
Yeah.
want to know. Well,
Yeah.
you want to know what? Like, you know what I mean? Then there's no possibility for information to flow through because there's no desires, there's no wanting, there's no questions, there's none of that. There's nothing coming forward to bring forward information. There's no asking.
And that's interesting because when you're in a class setting and you have all these bodies there and all that energy, and people are thinking it, they're emanating that energy out,
Yeah.
and you're right there to receive it. And one person could ask a question, and in that one question you answer everybody's questions without them even asking. It's like flipping the switch, right? You walk into a dark room, you flip the switch, the light lights up the whole room. That one person asking a question is like bam. And then you ask, okay, who else has a question? And nobody has a question because you've already answered it. And that, I just think that's so freaking amazing. I love it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. But information does flow. It flows all the time, honestly.
Yeah.
And it's like that. And I do notice it. I notice that all the time. I guess I keep saying I'm looking for something even more, like, because I'm not looking for it. I have a pull because I know there's more. So it's like I'm being drawn forward, just
Yeah.
like you are right now. That's why you end up with that. That's why you were up at the time you were to do the meditation. Now, Sunday night, I was up till 2 o'clock in the morning. So 2 o'clock in the morning, Monday, which I don't do very often. But it happens. And again, last time I had done that, we had our meeting that day, and I loved it because there's no filter. There's no filter because you're too tired to think. And that goes back to the part of the conversation that you were saying, I just got too tired. Like, why is this happening again? I'm just too tired. Well, when you get too tired, you let it go. You
Yeah.
don't try to control it. There's no filter. It just flows through you. You just like a lot of it didn't get recorded. What we were talking about earlier, my granddaughter will be like, well, I got songs. I've got lots of songs. And she sings about everything. I'm drawing with my pen. I'm going to draw with my pen. And she sings it over and over and over again. But it's like, it's just because you're being right now. You're enjoying yourself when you're singing. I mean, you could probably sing, you could do some screamo stuff, but that's a different story. But I mean, there's a whole process that's happening all the time. And it's whatever we want to, however we want to flow, like whatever we want to do. And when you're in that space, there's no controlling. It's not even, and it's not because your mind is bad. It's not because your ego is bad. It's because every aspect of you deserves that love, but we just don't give it that much attention, which leads me into the next thing. If you want to hear your intuition more, just start listening. That's it. It's so subtle initially. And that's what I was telling a client recently. It's all this information that's coming through to you is so subtle initially
Yeah.
because you're not used to listening to it. You're not used to listening to it. Once you become familiar with that and you're used to listening to it, it's always there, and it seems to be louder.
Yeah.
And it's not louder. It's just because you're more aware of it. You're tuned
Right.
in to that channel, to that frequency, to that vibration.
It's so subtle because you're not used to it. It's like a whisper. Somebody's whispering to you and you're like, what? I can't hear you. What? Right? You're trying to hear them, but you can't. And then because you're trying to listen, you get more focus, and the more focused you get, the louder it gets because now you can hear it. Yeah. And that's like yesterday with all those scents. That's clairfragrant. That's the intuitive ability of smelling fragrances that really aren't there. I mean, they're there. We know they're there, but they're not there. Like nobody was in my house cooking yesterday. And my strongest clair is clairsentient. I'm a feeler. I feel energy. When the more I focused on that, tuned into it, right, listened to those whispers and got more fine-tuned into that energy and hearing it and feeling it, the more I focused on that, all the clairs opened up. Like I was having some incredible experiences with all of them: clairvoyance, claircognizance, clairaudient, like all of it. And I'm like, so that was the beginning of opening all those channels up, and then teaching, so allowing that information to flow through me. And now I'm gonna say this is the beginning of tuning in to that vibration that I was feeling last night. I get goosebumps or god bumps, or that when something resonates, we're speaking the truth, or that's me speaking the truth, or I'm feeling that as truth. I feel that through a wave of goosebumps type of thing. I actually get goosebumps.
Yes.
But this was more of a vibration that I was feeling, and it's like, okay, we're stepping up the game now. Now we got to tune into this one. So it's just opening up all these channels and frequencies, and now it's up to me to meditate with it, to tune into it, to listen to the whisper of it, so that it can be amplified and get louder for me.
Yeah, because you've just tuned into your awareness. You really have.
Yeah.
Something that was amazing, and I tell people, pay attention to the kids because they know. So I always, when my grandkids come over, we go play all the time. So we're walking through the wash, and Vivi's like, oh, she says, I need to sit down. I've got sand in my shoes. So we'll sit on a rock, and then we'll clear out the shoes. And she's like, wait, guys. It was me and a couple of dogs, 3 dogs. She's like, wait, guys, I'm taking off my socks. I want to put my feet in the sand. And she's sitting there burying her feet in the sand and moving her around. She's like, this feels so nice. Grandma, take off your shoes. Take off your socks and put your feet in the sand.
Nice.
And I was kind of hesitant at first because it wasn't hot, but the sun was shining, and it's like, yeah, I should take off my shoes. And so he sat there for a little bit, and I told her, okay, close your eyes. Well, why? I said, just close your eyes. I said, tell me, so same thing that we're doing right now, or all the things that we're talking about. I said, what do you feel right now? I said, do you feel the sun on your face? Do you feel the breeze blowing your hair against your face? I said, what do you smell? So here you are having your experiences, but I'm talking to the little one in her body, because when we get here, we're always teaching him how to walk and talk and say this and say that. And this is a tree and that's a bug.
Sit down and
oh,
shut up.
Exactly. So all these things, right, that we think are important here, but they're not. The importance was to put my feet in that sand.
Yeah.
The importance was for her to sit and close her eyes and get reconnected with herself. And then she opens up her eyes and she says, well, I closed my eyes. Now what? After we had that experience, and I said, well, close your eyes again. I said, what do you see? And she says, I see the sun. I said, okay. I said, you'll start noticing that you can see all kinds of things when you have your eyes closed.
Nice.
And then that was just the end of the little, well, we walked through the wash without shoes. I said, we should just walk through the whole wash without shoes on. So we did.
Nice.
For a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was nice, but it was nice, right? Until it wasn't. Then it was, but that's all being aware. That's all being right now. Then as soon as we put our socks on, she's like, ooh, this feels so good now. Now I can walk through the sand with my shoes on. And then when I put my socks on, I was like, wow, this really does feel so good.
Different.
But it's being present, right? And that's appreciation every moment, not appreciating because I'm getting something. It's an appreciation because I'm in awareness.
Yeah.
So awesome. And with your awareness all day yesterday too. That's awesome. I love it.
And also, you can also look at it as the contrast of, you had your shoes on. Okay, this is what we do, right? We're going to put our shoes on to go walk out in the desert. But then you took your shoes off to feel with your feet and walk with your feet. and then put your shoes back on, like for your shoes to feel that good, there had to have been a little bit of contrast.
Yes.
That makes sense? Like,
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
you get a sticker in your foot, that's uncomfortable. That's contrast. When you step on a rock, a jagged rock, that's uncomfortable. That's contrast.
Yeah.
Then you put your shoes on, you're like, oh my gosh, I appreciate my shoes so much because now I can walk comfortably through this stuff. It's the same thing with life experiences. Things could be going good, but we're not acknowledging it until something uncomfortable happens, the chaos, the drama. And then when it goes back to good, you're like, oh, it's like a breath of fresh air. You're like, whoo, glad that's over. That's expressing a way of expressing gratitude, but we could go a little deeper in expressing our gratitude for the good in our life, no matter what it is. So yeah. And I like that. That's a great analogy of contrast.
Nice. Yeah, because it was, my feet had gotten cold and I didn't know they had gotten cold. Put those
Oh,
socks on, like, oh, that feels good.
feels warm.
Not to say, I did have a couple of cactus contrast moments.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, yeah, pull it out, throw it aside. So,
And it makes you stop,
but
right? You're
otherwise,
like, oh, I'm in the present moment now.
yeah. No, it was an amazing, the days have been amazing. Really, all the moments have been amazing.
Awesome. Well, I just wanted to say real quick, because we talked about a card spread, and I just want to bring that to the awareness of the audience that around December, sometime before the end of the year, Bev and I do this. And so if it's something you're interested in doing, is I use 2 card decks. So I pull from one card deck, whatever I'm guided to, because I have several decks. So whichever deck I'm guided to, I'll pull a card for each month. And then I have another card deck that I do a card for each month. So I have 2 cards for each month. And then I actually type it out on my computer and then I print it. So I have it and I look at it every day. And I'm usually looking at 3 months. Since we're in the end of November, going into December, I'm looking at November and December right now. So, but when I print it out, then I'm looking at, rest of December, January, February. And I also make notes. If I feel like I had an experience during the month that pertains to those cards that are for that month, I make notes. I'm like, oh yeah, this happened, because when I'm reading, sometimes I don't get anything to like the very last day. I'm like, oh my gosh. And so it's actually, for me, it's magical, because then something comes up and oh, okay, now I get what this card meant. Why this showed up for this month when I drew it 10 months ago or 9 months ago. And so it's to me, it's kind of fun to do that, because, and then see what experiences come up that I can acknowledge for that month that pertain to those cards or those words.
Yeah, I like it. I've done it 2 years. I think you've done it 3, right?
Yeah.
And so it's interesting to look back on them and see the progression. And that's just like almost reminding yourself to give yourself kudos for all the stuff that you've gone through.
Yeah.
This is who you are right now because of all those thoughts and things.
Right. It's fun. I like doing that.
And as I say, we could do it for someone else as well, but
yeah,
you contact us and then we'll go from there. But
yeah.
Or you can even do it for someone else, but yeah, because it takes time. It does take time. So
it does. So yes, absolutely. It's a service that we provide, and you just contact us to set something up.
yeah.
Any final words? We've been on here way over an hour. It's like time has just
over
fly
an hour.
by.
One of the things I would just remind people is when you feel like you're in a space and you feel like you can't do anything for something, is to send streams of grace. That's one reminder I would like people to remember.
Yep. It's not always yours to fix. Majority,
No.
like I would say 99.999% of the time, it's not yours to fix. You are witnessing it for a reason. And send those waves of grace is very beneficial, because like the man and the child, so he just has to take a breath and cough or clear his throat or something, and it just changes, it shifts the energy immediately.
Mhm.
And then, just be on your way. It's not your business to follow up or anything. Just shift the energy in that way without having to be controversial. Can't even say the word. Cause resistance. How's that?
I like it. I like it.
Be defensive. All right, my friends, thank you for hanging out with us. Tea Time with Amy and Bev. Be sure to share us with other people that you know who could benefit from our conversations. And we just hope that you got something out of this today that you could implement to help you show up better and do better in your life. Any final words?
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you. See y'all later.
Bye.